Well, it's probably about time I did my, best of 2023 videos before 2024 is like halfway gone by. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and thank you so much for watching. And in this video, what we're going to be talking about is 5 or 6 books that I found were probably my favorite biology, life science kind of books that I read in 2023. I used to do these videos kind of like my top 5 or top 3, I think, usually kind of like reads on a whole bunch of different categories, and like I didn't do any of them last year, so we're bringing them back this year. And this one, like I said, we're going to be doing more for nature. I'm splitting into 2 parts. We got today's is going to be biology, zoology, kind of like the life sciencey kind of portion of it, and then we're going to do a more like kind of conservation, I guess, in an environmental kind of books separately in a second video, just kind of break them up a little bit, because there obviously is a lot of overlap between the two. And then for history, we're going to be doing all different eras and stuff, but let's just go ahead and get started. We're going to start with just a couple runner-ups here. In the first one here, we got Ever Since Darwin, Reflections in Natural History by Stephen Jay Gould. He was a super famous I guess essay writer on science, especially like evolution, the life sciences, things like that. I think he wrote for Natural History magazine and probably Smithsonian and like National Geographic. I don't quote me on that, but I know he did a whole bunch of publications and people just like loved his stuff. I think this one sold. I think the thing on here says like 250,000 copies or whatever, and it's basically an essay collection on just different, I guess, biological topics that he found interesting, that I also found interesting after reading it. And apparently he's got like he's got like a dozen of these books that he published like during his lifetime. I have another one here that I saw after reading that one. I picked up Dinosaur in a Haystack. I just find them like really fascinating. He's probably most famous, I think, for his theory of punctuated equilibrium in evolution, and kind of dealing with the Burgess shale. For those who know kind of like fossils and stuff, he was kind of a big proponent of that sort of thing. But like I said, just really down to earth, just easy to read essays on a whole bunch of different. He kind of categorized them in a couple like different areas, but each essay is kind of its own little standalone thing, and they're just kind of quick, easy, just bite-sized reads that get you thinking, which I really enjoy. Next up, we have an interesting authorship duo. We have Stephen Palumbi and Anthony Palumbi, and it's a father-son team, which I found was really cool. We got The Extreme Life of the Sea, and based on the title, it's literally just a book dealing with different categories. There's like the deepest, I think the oldest with like Greenland sharks and stuff. Can handle the most pressure, all kinds of different, fastest, whole different like slew of categories, and just kind of dealing, like profiling the different species that do whatever they happen to do in that category. Learned actually quite a bit about a bunch of species I'd never heard of. There's like zombie worms going on. There's like black corals and glass corals. Just learned a whole bunch, and I've read quite a few ocean books and stuff. But like I said, it's kind of a light, easy. I don't want to say easy read per se. It is like academic and the stuff of like using the science and data and all that kind of stuff, but just kind of like a fun light read. It wasn't like super doom, which I just have to take a break sometimes from like all the nature books that I read that are kind of like that. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it. If you kind of like, I don't know, like Guinness records and I guess trivia. I don't want to even say, it's not even really trivia per se, but that kind of like ideas of the best of type stuff. I think you'd enjoy this one as well. And then for one more kind of honorable mention here, we have David Attenborough's The Trials of Life, and this is the 3rd book. I listened to this one. I don't know why I didn't grab it. I guess I could just go grab it real fast as I trip over everything. Got The Living Planet and Life on Earth as well. And I think they're all coming out with like new editions quite often now for some reason. But anyways, like I said, this was kind of the 3rd one in his kind of like life trilogy, and I did listen to that one on audiobook, so I might be a little, but that one was kind of, I didn't feel right putting that one in the top 3 just because it's a David Attenborough thing. So highly encourage you guys to read these 3. I'm just dealing with I guess, kind of the history of life, animal ecology, and also like animal behaviors and stuff. Just really just really good stuff. Definitely check it out. All right, so in not really any particular order here. Actually, let's start with the one I don't have, since I didn't have that one either. We're gonna do my top 3, and for number 3, I guess we're gonna go with, this has a super long subtitle, so I had to write it down. We got how scientific names. So wow, I started with the second line. Charles Darwin. I guess I'm gonna have to keep. I'm too lazy to edit that out. We got Charles Darwin's barnacle and David Bowie's spider. How scientific names celebrate adventurers, heroes, and a few scoundrels. And this is by Stephen Hurd. And this whole book is all about taxonomy. You know, with the Latin binomial system that Carl Linnaeus developed. You know, every single species has a genus and species. You know, like Homo sapiens for humans and whatnot. This book is all about how people get to go about naming them based on like discoveries and stuff, and there's a lot of tangents on, you know, different, so like here's a chapter on like celebrities, chapters on just really interesting names, why people named them certain things, you know, all the times like after loved ones, stuff like that. After enemies is well, when you try to insult someone basically through using the Latin name, because he kind of goes over like the rules on like kind of what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. But I learned a lot. Just for example, there are some organizations that sell off kind of like or I guess they bid it off different species, especially like insect species, just because there's so many that, you know, we're all just like falling behind on actually like categorizing them in I forgot what it's called when you actually detail like a species in the record and stuff. But you can actually like win an auction essentially to basically give the name to like a species and stuff, which I found really interesting. But I liked how in this book too, he does go off on like serious tangents with important, I guess, scientists and taxonomists throughout history. There was a couple I had never heard of. For example, one was Richard Spruce, who was a botanist who just really loved like mosses and liverworts and hornworts and stuff. And he lived in the 1800s. He was an English scientist, but spent a lot of time in South America and stuff, and that was just like his thing, was just those kinds of plants. But he did like kind of a lot of ecology and like research in South America during the 1800s, which I thought was really cool. But there was like a couple, it was Mabel Alexander and her husband, over like the course of like the early 1900s, you know, discovered and named like I can't remember how many thousand species of flies and other insects and stuff. I don't know, I just find stuff like that really interesting. There are some other like good profiles with Miriam Sibylla Marion. Hopefully I said that right. She's a really important, interesting figure. I gotta read a biography on her for those who don't know. She was a European from the 17th or 18th century, who basically just like left her husband and went to South America to study the insects and stuff, which is really bizarre for that time period. Was a trained artist and everything, came back to Europe, and then made a name for herself by publishing like her watercolors and stuff. Super famous. And also the scientist, had to write that one down so I didn't forget, Marjorie Courtney Latimer, who named the coelacanth when it was discovered in South Africa. She helped kind of like preserve it and stuff. And anyways, like I said, this book was just a lot of fun. There's a lot of seriousness, but also a lot of fun. You know, for example, what's his name? Gary Larson, the comic from The Far Side. You know, there's a whole chapter on like, you know, the different bugs that are named after him and why they were named after him and stuff. I just had a lot of fun. I learned a ton, and that's why I'm putting that one at number 3. All right, now I have the next 2 here. We got The Bird Way, a new look at how birds talk, work, play, parent, and think, by Jennifer Ackerman. I've read quite a few of her books now. She has, I think, like I want to say 6 or 7. I also read The Genius of Birds quite a while ago. This one is definitely a little more on the technical side, sciencey data side, whereas this one is kind of, they're both definitely like more popular science books and stuff. Recommend both. But they complement each other really well. This one deals a lot with like kind of bird behavior, like, you know, how they play, why they sing songs, what have we like learned about them, like how they sing their songs and stuff. She has a lot of I guess tangents where she goes to like different like aviaries, and like talking to the scientists that are doing like research on different birds and stuff. The one that I found really interesting was these like New Zealand like parrot type kind of tropical birds that are in like Austria. There's a population in Austria that they keep for like research purposes and stuff, and just kind of like learning about like, you know, their tool use and meta tool use and things like that. She has a new-ish book, I think, What the Owl Knows or something like that, that I need to get to. But like I said, definitely check this one out if you're interested in birds. I think you'll learn a ton. Like I said, both these books kind of like complement each other quite well. All right, and then before we get on to the very last one, I want to thank you so much for watching so far. If you want to support the channel, definitely check out my Etsy shop. I'll leave a link down below. Even, you know, just like looking around and like liking different items and stuff. I have a lot of Latin stuff. I got some new stuff coming down the pipeline as well. I think I say that every time now, but I just feel like I got lots of ideas. If you have ideas for quotes or anything, I do lots of custom stuff as well. I'm always on the lookout for that. And anyways, now on to number one. We have, I don't know why I didn't put that one on top. We got Spirals in Time by Helen Scales, The Secret Life and Curious Afterlife of Seashells. Helen Scales is a marine science or a marine biologist who has written a lot of like children's books based on like kind of teaching kids to like learn to like science, and you know, scientists are like real people too as well. But she has a lot of like, you know, adult works as well. One of the recent ones that I read, I think 2 or 3 years ago, was The Brilliant Abyss when it came out, which is all about, you know, what's going on in the deep oceans and stuff. This one obviously is all about like shells and the different animals that create seashells. One that I really learned about was the nautiloids and the ammonites and stuff that don't exist anymore, and kind of like learning about their life histories. How there's a lot of science too on like how like shells are built, and how like, you know, the acidity of the ocean and stuff, since we're making it more acidic, deals with like kind of the calcium carbonate that they make their shells out of and stuff, and how it sort of affects them. There's a lot kind of dealing with, you know, shells and corals and that sort of thing in this book. So it definitely has a lot of this sort of conservation aspect as well. But I remember picking this. I think I picked this book up this was like, I think in the first year I was doing BookTube, just because I really enjoyed the cover here. But like I said, I think out of the 3 books I've read so far by Helen Scales, like all of them have been right on. She has a new one coming out in July as well. Can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, but I'll put a little picture up there, because that's gonna bug me. But anyways, I'm too lazy to go pause the video and put one up there. But like I said, definitely support her work here. It's just really good, really easy to read, but you still like learn a ton. I read another book on seashells 2 years ago that was I think like in my top 3 as well. Hold on, let me see if I can find that one. The Sound of the Sea, Seashells and the Fate of the Oceans by Cynthia Barnett, as you can see here. Really enjoyed that one as well. They work together quite nicely. So there you have it. Those are my, I guess, top 3 and some honorable mentions of books on the life sciences and biology that I really enjoyed reading in 2023. Let me know if you've read any of these or heard of any of the authors, and let's talk about it down below. If you have a book on nature or the life sciences that you'd like to recommend that I pick up sometime, leave that as well, and I'd be glad to talk to you guys all about that sort of thing. And no matter whatever you're reading, whether it's a book on nature or not, always remember, read victoriously.